My name's Sam, and I work for the research team. This is a brief introduction to me and what I'm currently working on. So, I'm an infrastructure architect with about 30 years' experience in enterprise infrastructure, and I've been working for NuNet full time for about the last 8 months. Recently joining the research team, and currently my focus is on how best to integrate NuNet with Kubernetes. So, for those of you that don't know, Kubernetes is an open source framework for running distributed systems in a resilient and efficient way, basically allowing for scaling and failover of an application and providing easy deployment of applications across a large number of machines. Kubernetes has been widely adopted by almost all large businesses and increasingly by smaller ones, because while it is a fairly complex open source application or group of applications and services, it's now pretty easy to deploy in lots of different forms, to the point that even people like data scientists or people with a small machine or even on a laptop will run Kubernetes in order to run their workloads on their own machines. One of the reasons being is that then if you then want to go and run it on a bigger machine, which most people do, they will want to go and run it and they test it first and then they want to run it somewhere, then it's really easy to just run the same thing at a much larger scale in the cloud or in a high performance computing environment. Basically you just have to change a number in a config file to specify how many machines you want the same thing to run on. So, as it's an industry standard and runs containers, you can quickly deploy a large or complex application just by making a few small changes to a template file that describes all the parts that make up that job that you want to run, how they're all connected, and telling Kubernetes how to make that happen. And then these Kubernetes job specs basically replace the old school laborious process of doing everything manually. Or if I roll back time a bit to think about back in the day when I had to wait 2 months for the servers that I'd ordered to arrive, and scheduling the cabling guy to come and make more network connections to the rack, and not forgetting to upgrade the aircon in the server room before I could then unpack all the boxes and install the servers into the racks, and then follow some manual installation process to deploy the operating systems, then install all the various components of the application, then like crossing my fingers that I'd spec'd it correctly for peak load and it wouldn't fall over just when it was needed. So these days you can literally just change a number in a file and Kubernetes will ensure the application scales up and deploys onto the most suitable machines available. So, obviously over the last 25 years, we've moved on from those good old days, as I like to refer to them, and virtualization software, configuration management software, and cloud providers have really changed the game. And with the cloud came the concept of infrastructure as code, meaning that system administrators don't have to worry about all that manual stuff anymore. They just express the environment they want running as code. And so the things people do have to worry about still is the availability and price of hardware in cloud providers and data centers. And as AI adoption increases exponentially, getting the right resources, effectively GPUs, at the right price and at the right time will become more and more difficult. So at NuNet, we kind of believe in interoperability and that it's important for NuNet to interface with as many platforms as possible to reduce the friction and increase people's compute capability natively for them, just using their normal methods and tools. So as an example, imagine that I'm running an ML job and I realise that it's taking too long to run, but there are no additional GPUs available in my cluster, or in the case of a data scientist working at the weekend on their laptop, if we can allow them to expand their job to a large number of machines running NuNet's DMS service, that are really the best fit and price for their requirements at that time, then they can do that just by changing a couple of lines in their job description text file. So that's what we're aiming for. That's the plan, and I'm working out the best way to make that happen. And next week I'll be hosting a technical discussion around Kubernetes and NuNet integration. So tune in to kind of dig a bit deeper into the options that we're exploring. Also, I'm attending KubeCon in Paris next month. So if any of you are going to be there, let me know and we can meet up. And that's it from me now. Hopefully I'll see you next week in the technical discussion. Cheers.